Welcome to the Divine Feminine Revolution podcast, where women are magical and empowered. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Monday, psychologist turned transformational feminine business coach. This podcast is for you if you want to prioritize your own pleasure, face your fears, and manifest your desires. This podcast is sponsored by the Fearless Feminine Academy, where I teach women how to turn their trauma into their superpowers. My goal is to show women that we can heal our world by creating time and financial freedom by doing whatever the fuck we want. Are you ready for the Divine Feminine Revolution? Let's get vulnerable and go deep. I'm so honored that you're here. Hello, and welcome to the Divine Feminine Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Monday, and I have one of my favorite people here, Anna Tipton. Way back. Welcome to the Divine Feminine Revolution. Okay. We're back, and I'm really excited to talk with you. And I'm gonna finish putting it's like kind of early in the morning, and so we're still like getting ready, and we're doing a little bit of a green room moment here. But I'm gonna put my lipstick on, and I'm gonna let you brag on yourself.
All right. So I am nearly 38. I went to school for jazz piano. I've been playing piano for 35 years. So I do jazz piano. I started out doing that professionally and singing, went to school for that as well. Had a lot of success and happiness, still do that a lot. And in the past 5 years, just kind of like a series of events have led me into energetic work. Mm-hmm. So in the past 4 years, I've gone from being someone who received Reiki, Reiki healing, to being a Reiki Master. Literally, I just finished my course today.
Oh my God. I wish like everybody in the world could get Reiki Master. Yeah. Wouldn't that be an amazing place if everyone had it?
Oh my gosh. So right now I'm like really sticking a feather in my hat in the Reiki Master thing, because it is really taking Reiki a further step from being like a practice to like a way of life. Yes. And that commitment is like a really awesome foundation for living. So as I've gone through this final course, this final study, it's just been really cool. It's empowered me more than I ever thought it would, beyond the practitioner. So you're hitting me at a really good time in life right now. I'm feeling really good.
Those vibes of high. I like it. Anna's handled the vibe.
Yes, I'm very lucky to be here today with you, because you are a big part of that, the origin of my Reiki experience. So for those, like, no one would know, but Megan was my therapist. She was the best therapist. And when I tell you, I should have an honorary degree in therapy, because I've received so much. I'm a huge, huge fan. If it's accessible to you, anyone, please get it. And I came to Megan with a couple things, and she was just a whole vibe, that I was like, oh, I can deal with my issues in this way. Mm-hmm. Completely reframed my thoughts, acknowledging like the feelings in my body, reframing just everything. And you just casually suggested a Reiki session with someone. Mm-hmm. That person became my teacher. Yes. And then here I am today. But man, you and I intersected at like the right time. It was a potent time for change and redirection in my life.
Well, you were a dream client, and now that I've moved more into coaching, like I realize how like we had a coaching relationship essentially.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I felt
it. Work, but we talked about business and really working, especially as a mompreneur. That part is really intense. And you were saying in the green room when we were chatting that I was 11th. I hope you don't mind me saying that, but like that is.
some validation that you said
Yes.
11 and the best. And so I
And
was
it's
like,
like,
I'm gonna brag on myself because that would have felt really good to hear first thing
yes.
in the morning.
And like, my parents were always very like pro therapy
Mhm.
from a young age, like from being like a teenager. And I'd be like, no, I wasn't feeling that one. But, I would continue and in and out. But once I met you, it was just, I was like, wow, is this what like real change feels like?
You know, every once in a while, someone will walk into my office, and I'm like, "Wait, do I want to be your friend instead of
Yeah,
your?"
it was exactly that. Oh my gosh, I was like, I can't
Definitely felt
hang out
that.
with him.
I've definitely felt that. Yeah, just super kindred spirits, and I just love being a
Oh,
part of
absolutely.
your, Reiki path, and that's kind of how I felt when Reiki came to me. I was raised by hippie parents, so I was always like a little bit of a hippie, but more on like the partying, like
Yeah,
heady
yeah.
side of
I
things.
I can mirror that.
Yeah, yeah. And when Reiki came to me, I was actually in grad school here. I just moved to Knoxville and I was doing belly dance at Gypsy Hands and went from belly dance into Reiki. And
Yeah,
I really was told that part of my life purpose is really building this bridge of therapy and energy medicine. And because
yeah,
I do EMDR, I've had a
yeah.
lot of people who are healing from trauma. And I think like energy modalities are the best way to
Oh my
heal.
gosh.
And now I've actually kind of just like incorporated that into my coaching offer. So I'm using kind of like my riff on EMDR.
Yeah,
It's my own version of it. It's kind of developed over the past 10 years to really help people with mindset, right? Because in coaching, we're like mindset,
yes.
mindset, mindset.
And I
But
remember
it's more than
EMDR with you, and that was like amazing. That was the
yeah.
catalyst.
And why I love EMDR so much is actually it's an energy psychology technique. So it's like totally
Yeah,
within, even though it's mainstream psychology, energy psychology has said yes, that
yes. It
bilateral
like leans into
stimulation
that.
is like kind of hypnotic, trancy, and that's part of, uh,
Yes,
the power of
that was
the
potent for me. I'll say
yes, I love it.
that.
Amazing. So catch me up. It's been a few years. Like you are, a really powerful healer and advocate, and like the universe has definitely used you as a catalyst in certain ways. So just catch us up a little bit on, what's your focus now, and what were
Yes.
some of those big moments?
Um. So I'm going to, I'm gonna. This is. I'll start the story kind of like, I don't know, a few years ago. We'll go back a little bit because it comes around a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Um.
Always do.
So I moved. I'm originally from Brazil. I
Mhm.
moved from Brazil to Connecticut.
Mhm.
I was raised in Connecticut. My dad's from Tennessee. That's why I'm here.
Mhm.
But the beginning of this journey for me started with like an event. So we talked about this when I was with you, and it's a story that I share with people. I don't know, just to like when it feels right, and it also just like creates it calls for depth. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, so when I lived in Connecticut, I lived in Sandy Hook, Newtown, right around the time of the Sandy Hook school shooting. For whomever doesn't remember that or you weren't around for that, it was, horrific school shooting. And I worked across the street from the school, and I also lived across the street from the school. And so on that day, I had the job of my life was a barista on a river. All right. It was like me and the coffee and the river and the people. It
So
was
that's a vibe.
awesome. It was a whole vibe. It was so awesome. And like, so that morning, it was like a mom place to hang out,
Mhm.
basically. You drop your kids off, you come here and hang out. And then,
Yes.
like, I'm
Much
gossiping.
needed caffeine, right?
Yes. It was awesome. I knew all the moms and stuff. So on the day of that event, um, a lot of women, it's all moms there. They all get that phone alert, something
Mhm.
being wrong at the school.
Mhm.
So everyone's kind of like vaguely freaking out. The woman I'm working with, like the assistant manager, has a kid in high school and she gets the same alert. So it's like this whole school system, everyone's super confused. And then like a minute later we see about 30 to 50 cop cars, state troopers like driving to the school, and I'm like already like chill. And it's like I see the cop cars. Right before the cop cars, like about 2 minutes prior, before everyone gets these texts, we hear like guns, rapid fire. Like I had my next door neighbor was taking her dogs out in front of my coffee shop, and she was like, "Whoa, what's that?"
God, I bet you can never forget that sound, huh?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely insane. And I'm thinking, like, I don't know a lot about guns, but I know that I live in rural Connecticut, and I'm thinking, I don't know, is it deer season? There's a lot of deer there. It was just super weird, and the mind like rejects that. But then after she mentions that, comes inside, the cop cars start passing by, and then the parents get like a second round of text specifying that the event is at the elementary school. And so you see, I have chills right now. All of the women there had kids in the school. They got a text and they're saying, more specifically, it's a shooting. Do not approach the school. It is still happening. It's active. Do not come to the school. So every woman left her bag, her shit, and just got up and ran to the school. I'm covered.
The mamas.
Yeah. And I mean, when you see their face, when you see like a message like that, it's just like gray.
Yeah.
It was really nuts, and it happened very, very fast. And like, I was not a mom then. I was like in my 20s, and I was just like, wow, like something crazy is happening, but I don't really know the extent. So they leave. All their stuff is there, and it's like, that is very powerful. Just like that right there, feeling that energy, and then seeing that like mama action, like running towards fire.
Yeah,
is just, I saw that and I was like, wow. And I mean, in high heels, not looking for cars across the street, like just running. The school's right there. So I get a call, and someone calls the cafe, and I'm like, what? Okay. And it's CNN asking me to describe what's happening. And I'm thinking like, what? Like, how is this? Like, how do they know what's happening? And so I just described what I saw. So like, in the hours after, I'm talking about like the hour or two after, there was a lot of police warning, just like, everyone lock your doors, shut the windows, don't exit your house, don't exit your building. So I'm locking the cafe, drawing the windows. My husband's at our apartment, and they, staying close to the ground, because they said like the person's not been apprehended. They still don't know what's happening. There's a lot of like misinformation. So they're just like, stay low to the ground, like don't be by your windows. Someone's like around doing this. So 4 hours later, it finally kind of like, we're seeing it on the news. And I like leave work. I'm like, shutting down the cafe. I can't even. The assistant manager was stronger than me at the moment. She's like, I'm staying. She's like, I'm staying because like people might need a place to go, and I don't know. So I couldn't handle it for whatever reason. So I go back to my house, and which is like a stone's throw away from my work. And I start hearing like how many people were lost in it. The numbers were like going up and up and up and up. And that it was like, 20 plus people, most of them first graders. And I have a first grader right now. So,
yeah,
the 9 reels. So like for the next 2 months, that town turned into like a whole, CNN was parked there, Italian TV, Brazilian TV, Japanese, like news stations from everywhere. But that night, me and my husband walked up to the school to pray, to leave candles, to leave flowers, and just to honor the moment. And it was my first energetic experience of knowing the lives lost were there. It was very heavy. I'm covered in chills. Very heavy. But I felt like they were holding space for me. Like I was like out of control, like, crying, and I just felt this like warm energy. And the message I got was like, we're holding space now for you. And a lot of people had come in the night, all lit up with candles, stuffed animals and stuff like that. Months later, the whole town would be like that, covered with presents and candles and the whole city. But that one night, I felt the energy there, like right above. And that was so powerful for me. It just like changed my life. It like energetically, something that was blocked was unblocked or something. And it just, it touched my heart. I just like the impression I got from that experience was that they were there almost being like, you guys are grieving. I'm sorry. The kid.
Girl, you got me crying on my own podcast. I gotta give you
tears I spent on this. You know what I mean? And,
so powerful. Yeah.
It was just really great. And I walked away from the school, obviously like feeling so sad, but feeling like, wow, the human spirit is like, what? Because the impression that I got was like, we're here.
Yeah.
It wasn't a terrorizing feeling. It was just the presence of a child, but lots of children.
Really close, yeah.
Yeah. And it was really life-changing. And that sent me on, it just increased my awareness as to, like, for the rest, say pre that, I lean into the unseen more than what's obvious.
Yeah.
It put me on this like path to be like, what is unseen is like what I want to know about. It's what I want to learn about, because that night I didn't see anything right, but I'm different.
Yeah.
Something happened to my heart. So
yeah, talk about a heart opening initiation.
Yeah, so for my husband as well, it was like we were having dreams and all sorts of stuff. So we moved away from that area because it was like really hard. There was some trauma with that.
Sure, of course.
Like secondhand, because that coffee shop was a real hub of the community, and it was nuts. But after a while, it started to hurt. It had changed there for a bit, so we decided to move to Tennessee. Where my dad had moved with my mom and my sister. So my husband and I moved down here, and like a couple years go by, and like I'm struggling emotionally for reasons outside of that, and I see you. And I have some other issues I'm working out, but you suggest Reiki to me, and the Reiki was like that unseen, that was like, again, heart-changing, life-altering. And I thought after that Reiki session, I'm leaning into whatever this is. I can't even put my finger on it, but I'm going to lean into it.
Is that with Beverly, or who's
yes.
Who, by the way, yes, Beverly's amazing, and she also did the Fearless Feminine. So like, it's all.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah, incredible. And
yeah, I see her still now. But it was like coming to see you was like, okay, like the next, like, hand off in the baton of like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, if I'd never met you, I wouldn't know. Who knows? Do you know what I mean?
And that's such a big thing, because I often recommend Reiki to like anyone who will listen.
Me too.
Yeah, because people will come to therapy, thinking like that's the answer, and therapy can be amazing, but like particularly for trauma, it doesn't necessarily have all the answers, because the trauma really does live in the body and in the brain, and so you need like the energy piece to like unhook you from whatever you're hooked up to that you don't want to be.
And like understanding, like there's a body that's physical here, there's a body that's emotional here, and then there's a spiritual body here as well, and beyond.
You're open and obviously like meant to be doing this, but like for a lot of people, it's like, you want me to what? You want me to like go lay on a table and do what?
Gosh, I demystify this to everyone before I start, because like a lot of people like that I would hang out with, right? they would like be like, oh yeah, heck yeah, like I'm laying down right here. Beam me up. You know what I mean? They're like there for it. But when I give Reiki to people, I do a lot of distance Reiki. They're first timers.
Mm-hmm.
I always send a video of myself kind of like demystifying it.
Nice.
Or else people, first of all, you get like my vibe a little bit, and then people get their like a lot of like misconceptions out of the way, like it's a religious thing. Or like tied to like a dogma or something like that. It's personal development, I feel. So yeah, it's fun explaining it. You know, I love to do that because it takes this like abstract thing, and I want to be like, no, you know, like this is actually you taking care of yourself. You ended up here. This is not woo woo. You ended up here like for a reason, and the first experience, like they'll know. Sometimes it is like the people you least expect to be very receptive that come back and they're like,
yeah, that was life changing.
What?
I know. I was on a sales call for my mastermind, and this person does Reiki too, but we were having a discussion about like healing trauma. And I'm like, well, first of all, you have to have the mindset that like you, even if it's like your whole childhood, right? Like you can heal this thing, you know? And then she was like asking me like, but like, how does it work? And how does it heal? And then we were kind of just joking about like actually explaining Reiki, or like, she's like, and then there's an Asian guy on a mountain and he trips and falls. And she's like, actually, I'm like, the story and the explanation is like weirder than the experience. Like
it really is.
And can you like explain healing? Like I'm trying to figure that out in my marketing, how to do that exactly, because the explanation piece is just really hard. But like when you have this session, it fucking changes everything, right?
Yes. Like what I do with people is, but I will like demystify like the actual physical process. And in like the most basic term, to say, you know, this is like an amplification. I'm a conduit of energy, and I'm just amplifying, you know, healing energy into your base. We're addressing these bodies, right? Because we all have issues: physical, emotional, spiritual, ABC. And I'll text you when it starts. I'll text you when it ends, and then I'll FaceTime you afterwards. And normally, like, we'll have a talk after, you know, right? My impressions, their impressions. I love hearing the impressions of like distance Reiki. Like, it's awesome. But
oh my gosh.
Then if they care, I go into like the history, you know, because people will be like, what? Like, how? You know what I mean? And it's just what it is. It's amazing that it's understanding how like energy works. And Reiki is just like a pass, you know, that honors that. But it's really like, you know, with taking mastery, it's really like brought to the forefront how much Reiki is really like just taking steps back to yourself. Primordial lineage, right? Like, so at the root of it is that everything in Reiki should take you a little bit closer to yourself, which is your healing, which is the oneness and everything like that. But it's fun explaining, I tell you, and everyone like needs a different, you know, like needs a different version of the explanation depending on, you know, what they're going through and this and that. But
it was interesting. I was doing like a distance shamanic healing session, and you know, it was like she was on a journey, and so we weren't like live on video or anything. But at one point, I feel like, you know, I'm like taking an arrow out, you know, or like a sword or something. Like I was like pulling something out. And then she's like, yeah, and then I removed the sword. And I'm like, okay, I did that too. Like I felt that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And it was just like such powerful confirmation of, you know, what I was experiencing. And then, you know, through it, I like passed out. Right. And she was like, oh, good for you. You totally surrendered. You went even deeper, you know? And so I think in our like masculine kind of patriarchal view, we think we have to like work hard, and it has to be seen, and it has to be like, researched, and it has to have like numbers attached to it. You know, we can't just like a universal force that's so powerful. And when I decided to do Reiki for myself like 15 years ago, it was because my dad had cancer, and I felt like so powerless. And I've been talking about that a lot because he's just finished his treatment for the third time, and so he's a 3-time cancer survivor. But like it gave me so much power to feel like I can shift my health. And then like shortly well, I guess it was a few years later, but like particularly when I was pregnant with Luna,
Yeah.
you know, whenever I was anxious or like worried, was it going to be okay? Like all of these
Yes.
things, right? I would just like do Reiki on my belly, and she came out with her hot little hands. So
Yes.
like if mama has Reiki, baby has Reiki, you know.
Yes. Oh my
Right.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very true for you. Like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it's very like empowering,
Yeah, it is.
especially like the precepts and everything, and I will not anger, I will do my work honestly, ABC. It's really like gives you these like
Yeah, and
things
don't
that are
worry.
like
Like that's
that
the
are
tough one for me.
yeah. They give you these things that are very like general things to like live by. When
Hmm.
you take them serious, they're really positive.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's really, really awesome, very empowering, and like just knowing, your father was ill. I do it like it's empowering for me and my family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like my daughter constantly asks for Reiki. I'm like, okay. It's like a nightly thing. She's like, please Reiki.
Yeah, and I think that part of the reason why he is a three-time cancer survivor is that he had acupuncture, he had Reiki, he did therapy, he
Yeah,
did hypnosis, he did nutrition. You
it's
know,
the
he
whole
did the
the whole gamut of
alternative
it.
therapy along with the chemo and whatnot. And you know, it's
Yeah,
really hard. Like we had to kind of really go, like my mom, he has leukemia this time, which is like
yeah,
many treatments. It's different than a lot of the other cancers. And we were really like being so crunchy, like
yeah,
what more treatment and more treatment and more treatment. It's like really hard decision to think like,
of course,
do we do this?
of course.
It's still like medical is still such a paternalistic thing. Like, well, the research
Yeah,
says you've got, four is the minimum. But then they really don't have like a ton of stuff to corroborate that, like they don't
sure.
try like one versus two versus three versus four, like
Yeah,
so I don't know. It's really hard, I think, to make a decision like that. And so for him, he just like went with both, each time he
of
went through
course.
it, which I think is why he's still alive. I really do, because that
Yes.
energy work has been so powerful.
Oh my
Um, and I
gosh.
love that your little daughter asked for it. And I'm sure she's a little, goddess
Yeah.
on her own right.
Oh my goodness, yes. Well, her room's filled up with crystals and essential oils and all these things.
Yes, so is mine. So and you've had a little boy since we've last
Yes.
been close, and so I was just asking you a little bit about like what was it like having a baby through the COVID years,
Oh
and
my gosh.
if there's
Well,
anything you
I'll
want to
tell you,
share about that.
I got first of all his birth. When I came to you, I was like really wanting a second.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, we
So
both
like
were.
that was a big part of it, and so like I had him, and I had like these plans to do an unmedicated birth, and it went down that way.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, my first, I had an epidural, so like the beginning of his life was very empowering for
Mm-hmm.
me. It was like whoa, it was like I was like vibing so high that people were like coronavirus, and I was like, what?
I know, like it's never gonna
So,
happen to me. I'm invincible. Yeah,
yeah,
I
and
just
like
popped a
also,
baby out without drugs. Yeah,
I'll also be spending the next 6 months at home.
yeah.
Anyways, so it was his birth like informs kind of the how I feel about life and him and my other child. It was just really cool. It was first of all, I had an epidural the first time. Feeling a contraction is like alien.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing felt like outer space. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Something out of this world.
you're definitely in an altered state if you do it naturally.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what I mean? It
Tripping as that baby's coming out.
it was just like it was painful, but more than painful, it was like up here.
Did you do a water birth or were you just
I
like,
didn't.
yeah?
I
I
I
don't
just
think I could have done it without the hot tub. I love hot tubs. That's like part of my brand, but like literally
yeah.
that's where it all started was in the water
I'm
birth.
so surprised. I got a room without a tub. That was
Oh,
like the only reason. And they were like really nice suites, and I'm like, whatever. You know what I mean? I was like in positions that like, Lord have mercy. So that's how that happened. It
well, you
was
deserve an extra like medal for that because
oh my gosh,
wow.
and I had my classical music like blaring, and it
Uh,
was just awesome. And there's a moment right before he was born, cliche. I say, I can't do it. I'm not doing it. I can't do it. I'm not doing it. And a nurse that I'd never seen before grabbed my face and she was like, "You're doing it right now."
Oh, I
And
love
I
it.
hadn't seen her since. Then she left the room.
Oh, she's like an angel nurse came in
Yeah.
and your
It's like,
spirit
well,
guide was all up in your face.
and I was like, okay. And then it was just like, so it was like that woman's energy, first of all, like, wow. It was like, gosh, like these people that like help you through stages of life, like a guide.
Yeah.
He was like a guide.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, in that one moment, I felt like I downloaded like so much from her.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like she was, just guiding me through this like rough patch. It's not the first time I've like felt that. But, we went home, we stayed there for a day. It was crazy. My anxiety was definitely when I got home and the news and all that. That was kind of nuts. And I had a daughter in kindergarten online. Mm-hmm. And it was crazy, but it really prompted me to, I was like, it felt stir crazy at a point. So, and I was like, you know what, we need forward motion in life. I need forward motion. So I got back to Reiki. I was like, you know what, I'm taking Reiki all the way. I'm taking it all the way. I'm getting special certifications. I'm doing I got my maternal Reiki certification, and I've taken it all the way up to now, and I'm going to be doing Reiki for grief.
Well, perfect, full circle back to what you shared about the school shooting,
yes.
that. And I think,
yeah.
I think it's so nuts. A special kind of person to do the grief work because it's so hard. And to be honest with you, even though I do a lot of trauma work and that's my specialty, it's still a grief session is so hard because you can't make it better. It's just hard. It's a time thing, and just to circle back to the birth thing, I've talked about my birth several times on this podcast, having midwives and healers and stuff come on.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've shared this part. We had done hypnobirthing. So there's all these birds chirping and affirmations. I had my salt lamp that I smuggled in the hospital room and all that in the tub. Beautiful. And then at a certain point where I had that moment like you did, where it was I did drugs all my teenage years, and then I just decided to go sober during childbirth. Why is that a good idea? And it was that moment of completion, like you were saying. I was almost there, but I thought I still had so much more to go.
Oh my
and at one point, my husband, God love him, was like, "I think it's time to put on Ani DeFranco."
I think
so I was born to Ani DeFranco, and there may have been definitely some cuss words, and I remember afterwards, there was a little cantina on the floor, and you could go and get snacks or whatever. And this woman was like, did you just have a baby? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, was it natural? And I was like, yeah. She was like, I heard you screaming and cussing. I prayed for you.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
And now it's so funny because, when you get frustrated with your little goddess daughter, I feel the same moment. It's like, Luna, get out, and they actually, I've shared this before, but they had made me they kept wanting to monitor me in the tub. And so they kept making me do these basically bridges. And I'm already a plus size mama with a big old baby belly.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
It just petered out my labor. And so they put me onto the bed, and then everybody's quintessentially yelling at me to push. And I just shut down and everything froze.
It's
and
so,
then
even though it's so mental as well.
Yeah, even though these were midwives, they go, if you don't get that baby out right now, we're going to put you in C-section. And I just went, and popped her out.
They knew.
It was so funny because it did go from this really beautiful thing to Ani DeFranco cursing and coercion and threats just to pop her out in time. So
it's whatever it takes, but it's real.
Full circle moment, but it was just funny.
Oh my gosh, there's literally nothing like it. And as I was doing it, I was like, well, I'm never doing this again. And then immediately after, I was like, oh, I'll do this again. Because you're in this moment of oh my God, and but I pumped the brakes since then.
Powerful. I know.
But
oh my gosh.
Yeah, Arthur is his name, and he's an awesome little boy. He's on the spectrum. We've recently found out, but he's really like, you hear this all the time from like autism parents, like, oh, they teach me so much. And he has like opened even me, someone who like lives in the deep. I live for the deep. I live in the deep. I choose to be there. Like, even for someone like me, he's opened more, like there's more depth. You know what I mean? And I thought I had a pretty good grasp on like, you know what I mean? But there's like worlds within worlds within worlds.
Yes.
A huge book suggestion for like literally any human like on earth is The Reason I Jump.
Oh.
And it's by a 13-year-old autistic boy, nonverbal. I believe it's from Japan. And there's this one page on water. It's a question and answer form. First of all, I'm a Pisces moon. I'm like water.
Yeah. My husband's Pisces moon. I feel I love my Pisces people.
Pisces moon. So I'm like a water person.
Deepest conversations ever with a Pisces.
Oh my gosh. And the love of water. And Arthur's a double Pisces.
Oh.
He wants to be water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I like to say, that sounds cool when I say it. But like, he wants to just like meld with water. So in this book, there's one page and it says why, I'll surmise very quickly, why do you like water so much? His mom's asking him, why do you like water so much? And he like, types out, water reminds me of a distant past. Like primeval, before like there were humans. I'm talking aquatic life. He was like, why did that creature who chose to come, that one creature, that first one that decided to go from water to land, that one creature put us all on this path where we just build constructs on top of constructs and time and money, just because that one creature like went out. Now humans are just boxed and there's all these limiting qualities. And he's like, when I'm with water, I feel like I'm in the natural flow of life. And that is time, like the pulse of oneness. And he's like, I don't know how else to say it, but like, it's like just that like primordial aquatic form, that life form. And after I read that, I was like,
there's Rebecca Campbell, who does like, she's got books and decks and everything. There's one of the cards that I always pull, which is Minnetonkan, which is like another world where the water was clear, and it was kind of like an idyllic society where there was like peace and love and inclusivity. And I feel like that's a piece of where like that remembering like comes through in my version of like the matriarchy and divine feminine revolution, that this is like possible, but it's like a world that no longer exists. And so there's like this mourning. And I think a lot of starseeds or healers or empaths or whatever you want to call yourself have these rememberings of like a more perfect world. And we're here to like raise the vibration and also just teach about, I was just getting super, I'm crazy with astrology, but I was getting super deep into my chart, and I have Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto all in Libra, and stellium like right there, which we had a lot of that like through the 2020 and 20, it was in Capricorn, but we had a lot of that around COVID times, right? But I was looking more into that, and it was like, you're here to teach people how to love, and I was like, oh my God, that's my life purpose.
And like,
check. One last thought too, just to circle back to your son, part of my origin story was working with the Maori healers when they would come to town, and they're just like incredible indigenous healers. And I feel like so blessed to have, worked with them and be taught and healed by them. And they don't have words for good or bad in their language. And their perspective of autism is that they're multidimensional. And so I think like, what if every parent had that as their version of what's happening, that these are incredible like healers that are showing up in our planet. Versus like, a more pathologized version. And so I definitely just wanted to share that with you. Obviously you already know that in your heart, but like to put
I
that
love to hear that like outside. It's like, it's really, And it even comes back to like Reiki. It's just like that primordial lineage of like who you really are. Not like your face, your head, your voice, your thoughts, but like up up here
Yeah.
you are, taking steps towards that and realizing, all the dimensions to that. And I'm like, all right, guru, my son.
Yes. Oh my God. One final love story is I had, when Luna was born, I had a bunch of like past life readings and like what lives did we all have together? And there was like a couple different ones, but apparently there was one where we were like monks in Asia and like Luna was the guru and we were like disciples. And I think it might have ended badly, as sometimes our past lives do. It gives us a little like scar or whatever. But I always thought it was funny. I'm like wiping my guru's ass as
I'm like
diapers. And I like yell at her, I'll be like, pick up your shoes. I'm like, here. I'm like, am I gonna get like? I'm like, I'm not sure you're supposed to talk to your guru like that. I'm like, am I gonna get like a life?
Pick up your
consequence
shoes.
For
like,
that.
I love you.
Oh my God, she woke me up at like 4 a.m. this morning, and it's just words came out of my mouth, and I was like, I was like, Mommy, sorry, please don't wake me up in the middle of the night. I'm not very nice.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, this little mystic. She kept me from sleep for like 5 years. It's gotten so much better, but like
really,
still.
Oh my gosh.
She didn't sleep all the way through the night for years.
Oh my God. Yeah, Arthur has like, trouble sleeping, so it's like that'll.
Oh yeah, on eclipses, and I made the mistake of usually her grandma like go keep her overnight on a Saturday, and that was like the new moon eclipse, and she was like, I don't know if this is true. I don't know if grandma corroborated the story, but she was like, I was up till 3 a.m. and I was like, I forgot. Like, I mean, I knew it was the eclipse because I'm obsessed with those things, but I was like, I probably should have kept her home that night. That's kind of an intense one to go through, like, in the middle of the night by yourself.
Yeah.
Might have been
only the strongest
through that. Oh my gosh. Well, Anna, I like definitely want to have you back because we could we just like the surface of all the different things you could talk about. But definitely like let's hear, what are you selling? What are your offers? How do we find you?
Okay.
Totally book a session with Anna.
Thank you so much. Right now I'm working through Instagram as my main platform. So that handle is at the Vibes Architect, but it's at _vibes_architect. And you can book with me through there. I offer a couple different kinds of Reiki, just general Reiki, which is like what I receive when I receive Reiki. But I also do maternal Reiki, which addresses infertility during pregnancy loss. I'll have to circle back really quick to that pregnancy loss, postpartum, all that stuff, covers all of that.
Important. I love you're taking care of the mamas.
Yeah. And then we do Reiki for the home, like home Reiki.
And that's so powerful. Like I have my office cleared often.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can do it too, but I do like to have other people just come do it because they're like,
it's a nice exchange.
Yeah. And also my home because, like portals open up or like, particularly with therapy office, if people are like releasing quite a bit, so highly recommend that for people.
Yeah. Like Reiki, like for businesses, Reiki for home, in my last, so yes. So those are my offerings, and I'll kind of like close with this, like, in my last, attunement, I was basically, I knew this already, but I'm leaning now into like mediumship with babies, passed before they were brought earthside.
Yeah.
And that's like been cultivating on its own for a few years now and made itself like very, very obvious to me in the past year. And then with my last attunement, really brought it home.
I love that because I've worked through miscarriages with therapy clients, and it's just, oh gosh, especially a lot of times they're like the first time, like the first time getting pregnant, and I'm losing it early. Just so again, like back to those grief sessions, like
Yeah.
I feel like those have been some of the most heartbreaking ones. And, you know, mamas went on to like have, you know, their babies and like have the dream come true. But I
Yes.
really do believe that like a good friend of mine had one and it has gone on to, she had a healing session. It's gone
Yeah.
on to 4 babies, like amazing, you know. And
Yeah.
so
Yes.
I just like to kind of share like the success stories because I think in that
Oh
moment
my
it's
gosh.
just like world ending, you know. So
Yes.
I
And
love that you're
also,
offering
what's
healing.
really like interesting, and I've always thought this was like kind of mind blowing, like since I was a child, like the energetic space of like not being born yet,
Mm-hmm.
but like, you know, being in the womb, but like consciousness and connectivity, like to the other side, and like
Mm-hmm.
um, energetic imprints that happen, you know, when a miscarriage happens and when a regular, you know, like when a fulfilled pregnancy happens, like, you know, there's a lot of information there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like even in a miscarriage, like that child like needed you for a bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
needed some of you for a bit, and then you know, got what it needed. So it's a I stay there in my mind a lot, you know,
And
that
I've seen like souls cycle through, like where it's the same baby, but like the timing was right the
yes.
second time, you know, like in their life
Yes,
or to happen, you know. So I think that
absolutely.
can
It
happen too. Yeah.
for me it's like a personal thing. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And like so yeah, that soul cycling back and just there's just so much like information that like unborn babies like have, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can very quickly just feel like, oh, there was nothing, you know, but there was something.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
something major.
Yeah. And I find that like a lot of times, you know, they healed the mama and then she's able to
Yeah.
have babies, you know, like they
Yeah.
helped her release something really deep as well.
Yes.
So yeah, I think
And
that's really
like to
cool.
know the information around those events is like really life changing and
Mm-hmm.
empowering
You got
and
to
like
make me do this.
altering. Like put the glasses on, you know. It's like okay, it's a bit it's way deeper than I thought.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's so good to reconnect with you. And I wish we had more time, but I
Same.
would like definitely have you on. And for all of those y'all listening, I still need a few people for my mastermind. And so this is such a great testimonial because it really is the combo of like all my years of like healing trauma as a therapist,
Yeah.
doing the energy work. And not only do I have Reiki, but I have the Blue Star, which I got to introduce you to Kim. So the Blue
Yeah.
Star Pleiadian was like Reiki, but like different. And it
Really.
lets you travel and do all kinds of things.
Oh,
And
every time you bring like something.
oh
Oh,
my gosh, it is funny because like Kim was so into the Blue Star, and then she's initiated a lot of the people that have gone through Fearless Feminine. So we do sort of like
yeah.
have a hub of like Pleiadian Blue Star initiators. And for me, it actually like grounded me for once in my life, like in a good
Yeah.
way.
Yes.
And allowed me to like, I was always very intuitive, but now I can like go get messages and
Yeah.
whatnot. And just really helped me not take on other people's stuff, which as an empath was like something that really kind of brought
Yes.
me out as a
It's
therapist.
hard. Yeah.
So anyway, the mastermind's going to be awesome. It's a hybrid of every other week, like sisterhood kind of group
Yeah.
coaching sessions. And then it is one-on-one work doing like a
Yeah.
version of EMDR. It's the ascended EMDR,
Nice.
you know, doing the Pleiadian and the Reiki and like taking people up and also clearing it out. And then also really just like doing that mindset because really simple, like, you know, a lot of people feel like I can't get what I want. And then it's like,
Yeah.
well, try to launch your program if you feel
Yeah.
like I can't get what I want, right? And that's usually related
Yeah.
to some kind of like trauma or childhood thing or past life
Yes.
thing or whatever
Lingering,
the hell, right?
limiting. Yeah.
Yes, and we can actually clear that out, not just by like writing your intention over 100 times, but just by
Yes.
like really releasing it. Then like things get really, really magic.
Yes.
So
Everyone
yeah,
here should know that you, Megan, put into words what really is a feeling. And it's so hard to do that. You know, you're so good at that.
thank you.
Honestly, you're so good one on one. And even in the group setting, which I experienced with you, like so good. You just
Thank
like
you.
say all
I'm
the right things and ask all the right questions and like
uh,
you can feel that like you know like the energy like the and the interest and like the love coming from you So it's a really powerful thing to get to work with you in any way. Like I said, you're the GOAT, greatest of all time. And heck, I should know.
Especially with my Capricorn rising, I am a little bit of a goat there. I'm like climbing that damn mountain, right? All right. Well, I love reconnecting you, and yeah, I just love it so much. Bye, everybody.
Oh gosh. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Divine Feminine Revolution podcast. Make sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Want to keep the conversation flowing? Find us on Facebook at the Divine Feminine Revolution Facebook group, where revolutionary women gather to listen to their hearts, monetize their gifts, and change the world.